Have you ever met someone with real-life superpowers? My boyfriend has photographic memory, but he pretends to forget things to avoid making people uncomfortable. We met in junior year when he tutored me in organic chemistry. The first session, he drew complex molecular structures from memory after glancing at my textbook once. I thought he was showing off until I realized he remembered everything. Every conversation we'd ever had, what I wore on our first date, the exact timestamp of every text message. One evening at his apartment, his roommate was complaining about their landlord raising rent. My boyfriend quietly said, "Actually, in the lease you signed, Section 4B states rent can only increase after 18 months, and it's only been 14. The roommate went pale. My boyfriend immediately rubbed his temples and said, "Wait, no, I'm thinking of my old lease. Never mind, ignore me." Later, I asked why he backtracked when I knew he was right. He looked uncomfortable and said, "Being right about everything makes people hate you. Trust me." That's when he explained his condition. He has what's called eidetic memory combined with hypermnesia. Every moment of his life exists in perfect clarity, but he learned early that this ability terrifies people. They feel like they're being recorded, like he's keeping score of their mistakes. So he developed elaborate rules about when to forget, people's embarrassing moments, offhand promises they don't intend to keep, contradictions in their life stories. What makes him different became obvious during a double date with my roommate and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was telling a story about meeting some celebrity at a bar. My boyfriend's face tightened. I could tell the story was fabricated, but he just nodded along, even adding, "That must have been amazing," at the right moments. Later, he told me he'd seen that exact story posted on Reddit 3 months earlier. "Why not call him out?" I asked. "Because," he said, "that story makes him feel interesting. Why would I take that away?" The strangest part was learning about his ex-girlfriend. She cheated on him sophomore year. When I asked about it, he could describe finding out in excruciating detail. The purple dress she wore when she confessed, the 73-degree temperature, the couple arguing about pizza toppings at the next table. But then he said something that broke my heart. The worst part is, I remember meeting the guy 2 months before at a bookstore. We talked about Murakami for 12 minutes. I keep replaying it, wondering if I said something that made him think she was available. Maybe if I'd been less friendly, or mentioned her more. "That's insane," I told him. "Her cheating wasn't your fault." He smiled sadly. When you remember everything, you can always find a moment where you could have changed the outcome. My friends sometimes ask how I can date someone who notices everything. Doesn't it feel suffocating? But they don't understand what I've learned. There's a profound kindness in choosing what to remember out loud. He could use his ability to win every argument, to catch every white lie, to never let anything go. Instead, he uses it to remember that I hate cilantro even when I forget to mention it, to know exactly which episodes of shows we've watched together, to never bring up the time I ugly cried over a statistics exam. Last week, I was spiraling about a presentation I'd given in class. I was convinced I'd stuttered through the whole thing and everyone thought I was an idiot. He sat quietly while I catastrophized, then said, "You cleared your throat twice, touched your hair 3 times, and said, exactly 7 times in a 12-minute presentation." The professor nodded 18 times and smiled 4 times. Those aren't the statistics of a bad presentation. When I asked how he could possibly remember such specific details, he took my hand and said, "I remember everything because I can't help it, but I count the good things because sometimes people need proof that their worst fears about themselves aren't true." Before bed that night, I found him writing in a journal. He'd been documenting every good moment of our relationship, not just the big ones, but tiny details like the way I laughed at his terrible puns, or how I always save him the last bite of dessert for when you doubt us, he explained. "Because everyone does sometimes, and when you do, you'll only remember the bad parts, but I'll remember all of it, and that's why he's the most extraordinary person I know."